I get a lot of questions from people on the use of wrist straps. So I want to cover the type of wrist straps that I prefer, which are the VersaGrips. You can use the standard canvas ones. It really doesn't matter. I just prefer these. It makes a much tighter grip. But the real question is on when to use them. Will it make your grip weaker? So should you avoid them? Should you only use them on the last set or towards the end of your back training? So wrist straps. I'm a huge believer in using wrist straps when it comes to training your back. In fact, this is based on a study that I did and presented at the National Strength and Conditioning Association meeting on wrist straps and muscle strength during a typical bodybuilding style back workout. So what I did was I had a group of trained bodybuilders do a typical back workout. They're with around 10 rep range per exercise. They did several exercises through the workout, all sets to muscle failure, and I measured their ability to how many reps they could do per set. And you would think that the wrist straps would help with your strength later on after you're starting to fatigue and allow you to get more reps later on. But what I found was that using wrist straps during the workout allowed them to get an average of 1 to 2 reps more on every single set, from the very first set and the very first exercise all throughout the entire back workout. It allowed them to get an average of 1 to 2 reps and even up to 3 reps in some cases more per set. So what does that mean? Well, if you're trying to build a big back and maximize your back muscle hypertrophy, which is the point of training back, then you should definitely use wrist straps from the get-go when you start your back workout. Okay, well, doesn't that decrease my grip strength? No, you should be training your grip strength later on when you're training forearms or arms. You should do grip strength training later on to increase your grip strength. Don't use your back workout as a form of increasing your grip strength. That's going to undermine your back training because your grip is going to be your weakest link. So why undermine your back training? If you were a powerlifter perhaps, or a strongman competitor who needed severe, massive grip strength, then yeah, maybe you should forego the wrist straps. But if your goal is to build a bigger back, use the damn wrist straps. It makes sense based on the research that I've seen in my own training as well. So definitely use wrist straps. Now, what about the difference in the wrist straps? Well, your standard wrist strap is the canvas style looped wrist strap, where it just basically goes through here. And now there's a few tricks on using this style of wrist strap when you go on the bar, whether you're doing pull-ups or pull-downs or barbell rows. And there's a couple ways to use it. You'll see a lot of people do this with their wrist straps, and these tend to be the newer lifters. They'll go all the way around their wrist and tighten it up, and then take this and wrap it around. That's okay. That's a fine way to use it. However, you'll find that it's much easier and you get a stronger grip when you leave it a bit looser like this. Okay, and then when you put it on the bar, you put this over, and then what happens is you make a nice tight grip on the bar like that. Now you basically can do pull-ups almost hand-free. The other good thing about pull-ups or pull-downs or whatever you're doing with wrist straps is I've talked about the thumb over grip on back training versus thumb under. What wrist straps allow you to do is maintain that over grip, that thumb over grip, which allows you to focus more on the lats when you're doing your back training. If you grab onto the bar, I've talked about this before, watch my video on this. If you grab onto the bar with the thumb under and squeeze the bar, what happens is you engage the forearm and biceps, and you tend to pull more with the arms on your pull downs and pull ups and rows, and that lessens the stress on the back because you're getting more focus on the arm muscles. When you use that thumb over grip, your hand basically becomes a hook, and using the straps now to really secure your hand to the bar really allows you to use those hands just as hooks so that you're not pulling with the arms and really focusing on starting the motion with the lats. And that's critical because most of us can't feel our back when we're training. You get your delayed onset muscle soreness, we call DOMS. You'll feel it in the chest, you'll feel in the biceps, the triceps. The next day, you'll also feel that during the workout. But a lot of people can't feel their lats during the workout or days after because they can't properly engage the lats and recruit those muscle fibers because they're pulling too much with the arms. Now, about the style. Like I said, these are fine. I prefer using Versa grips because they allow for a much tighter grip on the bar, and that allows me to really use my hands as hooks. So these you can really get on nice and tight onto the bar. They're real simple to use and they stay on. And then they're off. You don't have to worry about them falling off. Very simple to use and a very tight grip. I've never been let down by a pair of the Versa grips. Whatever I'm doing, whether it's rows, whether it's pull-ups or pull-downs, they really give that tight grip and allow me to really focus on using the lats. Last thing I'll focus on are deadlifts. Should you use the wrist straps on deadlifts? I personally don't, but then I have really strong grip strength, and I also like to use a over-under or a staggered grip when I do deadlifts. I would focus on using just your hands on deadlifts. Obviously, if you're a power lifter, that's a necessity because you have to have that strong grip for competition. You're not allowed to use wrist straps when you're in a powerlifting competition. However, for those of you who want to focus just on your deadlift strength, if you find that your grip is your weak link, then yeah, try wrist straps. Depending on the gym you train in, that might be a no-no. Some guys will kind of laugh at you. So that's your call. I prefer using just a staggered grip with no wrist straps when I do my deads. But then, like I said, my grip strength is not a weak point for me, even though I use wrist straps when I train back, because I actually train my grip elsewhere in my training. So consider using wrist straps when you train back. It'll definitely allow you to get more reps with the same weight or use heavier weight to get the same reps. Look for more great tips like this right here at jimstoppani.com. Don't forget to check out all my other articles on nutrition, supplementation, and all the training programs right here, jimstoppani.com.